So there's been an outbreak of hantavirus on a cruise ship, and that's led to the death of some passengers. So what do we know about this virus?
What is hantavirus?
Well, hantavirus, it's named after a river in South Korea, and that word, hantavirus, really describes a sort of family of viruses. Around 20 viral species have been identified according to the World Health Organization. It's not just one infection. It's really serious, but it's also relatively rare, and it's linked to exposure to rats and mice. The risk is typically highest when someone's doing something like, for example, cleaning out a building that's had a rodent infestation. So most of the human cases are reported in rural settings, such as forests, fields or farms, where rodents are present, and that means the opportunities for exposure are greatest.
Where could this outbreak have come from?
That's a really, really important question, and the answer is we don't yet know. All the cases are linked to this cruise ship, the MV Hondius, which set sail from the very southern tip of Argentina at the very beginning of April. But the first two fatalities, who were a Dutch couple, they're reported to have travelled through South America before boarding the ship. Now, that's really important because it's possible that one or both of them came into contact with the virus during their travels. And one version of the virus, known as Andes virus, that's been identified as causing infection in humans in both Argentina and in Chile. So, for example, in late 2018, there was an Argentinian outbreak that was traced back to people who'd all gone to the same party. A single person with the virus led to 34 confirmed cases and 11 deaths.
How does it spread? Is it airborne?
Yeah, it is slightly airborne, so it's transmitted actually by rodents, typically rats and mice, through their dried urine and the droppings, which are then blown into the air and inhaled. That's where it is slightly airborne. So mostly, yes, it is spread from rodents, but there have been these relatively rare cases of human-to-human transmission of this virus known as the Andes virus.
What are the symptoms?
Well, the virus can cause two really severe illnesses. The first is called Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, and it often starts with sort of flu-like symptoms, really. You can get fatigue, fever, muscle aches, then followed by headaches, dizziness, chills, upset stomachs. But then, this is where it starts to get very serious, you get respiratory symptoms develop. So, for example, breathlessness. And the mortality rate associated with this type of illness is around 38%. So more than a third of the people, according to the Centre for Disease Control in the United States, will die if they get that type of the virus. The second illness is called hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, and this is even more severe and primarily affects the kidneys. So later symptoms can include low blood pressure, internal bleeding,